Who else remembers the good old 90s? The box office was booming, everyone was being haunted by Furbies, and with the rapid expansion of the internet, people all around the world were finally able to come together and settle their differences with the least inflammatory question ever devised. Is Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy VII the better game? Decades later, the flame wars still rage with no definitive answer, though parent company Square Enix has certainly taken it upon themselves to shower their favourite child with as many spin-offs as they can muster. At least we're all on the same page as far as titles go, these days. No matter what you call this one, Final Fantasy VI is undeniably one of the series' greatest entries, featuring not just a fantastic story, but a ridiculously large cast to go with it, most of whom are useful, and a world that pushed our minds and the graphical fidelity of the SNES to the absolute limits. I'm Jack from EXP Required, and today I'll be sharing 7 reasons why Final Fantasy VI is great. Beware of spoilers ahead. An anti-imperial resistance group, the Returners are made up of more members than those we have in the party, all of whom are split up early in the story. While the Gestal Empire is attempting to expand further north and crush their opposition, we follow the heroes as they flee down the Lethe Lazy River. As if navigating its channels wasn't pain enough, our journey is interrupted by none other than Ultros, a giant purple talking octopus. On a first glance, this surreal enemy doesn't fit the overall tone of FF6's often bleak world, but we think he fits right in. The Returners are quick to banter amongst themselves, and not even the main villain is above a joke or two. The rest of the game's serious mood is only elevated by its often ridiculous humour, which Ultros is always happy to indulge in, whether that be trying to steal the Warring Triad for himself, or inexplicably fighting the party off the side of an airship. Not content with staying in one title, he's also shown up in other games, notably as DLC in FF13-2, as a recurring battle in FF14, and as a demon in FF15's Kingsglaive film. But we don't talk about Kingsglaive. Ultimately, not even the world ending was enough to put an end to his antics. Ultros can be found as a receptionist in the World of Ruins Colosseum, and despite his constant attempts to derail our plans, we're just glad he's still with his old pal Typhon. Picture the scene. It's 1994. Or 2002 if you're in Europe, thanks Square, and you've just started playing the latest Final Fantasy. You've come to expect to play as the good guys and prevail over world-threatening baddies, and this time is no different. Armed with swords and magic, you set off to put an end to the evil, only to have the rug pulled out from under you when Kefka steps up to become the true villain and actually succeeds in ending the world as you know it. I say steps up, as up until this point, Kefka has been a consistent pain in the backside, but nothing more than a sadistic rule breaker that even his own emperor grows sick of. Mind you, that's not to say that he's not been a real threat. He enslaved Terra, poisoned Doma's water supply, and annihilated the Espers all for his own power. When it comes to the game's halfway point, we know dealing with him is something that has to happen, but we didn't expect him to seize control quite so violently. Though the concept of the bad guys winning wasn't exactly a new idea in fiction, even then, it was still something of a watershed moment in gaming. It would be like if Link told Navi he was going back to bed in Ocarina of Time. Unheard of. Kefka's win leads to the world becoming a pretty desolate place for him to rule over. Different strokes for different folks, I guess. The party is split up after the world of ruin becomes the new normal, and we take control of Celes a year after the fact. She's been in a coma all this time, allowing us to come to terms with the state of things at the same time as she does. Though she starts out caring for her newly self-appointed grandfather, Celes ends up leaving the solitary island they've been trapped on for a year, whether or not you manage to keep Cid alive. We happen to think what follows if you don't save him is more poignant though. With a newfound sense of self-belief, due in no small part to one man's act of sacrifice in keeping her alive, Celes sets off to the world at large to find her previous companions. And there's a lot of them to find again. 13 to be precise. Only 2 more need to be recruited to make it to the credits, but why settle for just Setzer and Edgar when you could have everyone else on board too? The choice the game gives you here is pretty unique. Normally party members aren't taken away again, and if they are, it's usually only for a short period of time. Letting the player decide whether to track down their friends again or struggle along with only the bare minimum is a brilliant bit of game design that reaffirms one of FF6's most important points. You only get out of the world what you put into it. One of the friends Celes can choose to track down and recruit is Terra, who had the focus in the first half of the game's story. Originally a biological weapon of the Empire, the Returners were the first to treat her as a human instead of a tool, something that weighs heavily on her when the truth of her parentage is revealed. The daughter of a human and an Esper, Terra struggles with her place in the world, a problem only exacerbated when she becomes able to transform. It isn't until the world of ruin that she finds some semblance of belonging. After finding the airship, she can be found in the town of Moblis, where all of the adults have been killed off by Kefka. Only only children remain, and Terra, though young herself, is drawn to them as a protector, known to most simply as Mama. Rather than join the fight again, she opts to stay with the children, though she's too scared to fight against the monster Humbaba, lest the kids see her true half perform. When push comes to shove, she transforms, but her fears are unfounded, as the children are quick to recognize her as their beloved mum regardless of how she looks. Watching Terra mature from an uncertain young lady to someone willing to fight for the future of those children is enough to warm anyone's heart, and seeing how she's saved in turn by the kids during the ending sequence is the perfect cherry on top. As one of gaming's most iconic female characters, we can't help but love Terra, not just for her brilliant design, but for her refreshing sense of purpose as both a kick-ass warrior and loving mother figure. He might not be top billing, but leading lad Locke is pivotal in the stories of both Celes and Terra, putting his faith and trust in the both of them despite their imperial origins. For the most part, we don't know much about him, other than his status as a returner, that he's pals with the king, and that his job title is pretty important to him. It's only after the world's ended that we learn where he began, adventuring with his love Rachel in the mountains. When tragedy struck, she was left amnesiac, and if that wasn't enough, a later attack by the Empire left her dead. Unable to save her, Locke has spent the story so far haunted by his own failure, and attempts to make up for it by protecting everyone around him. Not even the end of the world is enough to put an end to his dreams, however. Rather than succumb to misery, Locke ends up finding the Phoenix Cave as he hunts down a legendary magicite, one with the power to bring back the dead. Ultimately, it only works for a brief moment, but it gives Locke enough time to be absolved of his guilt, as Rachel tells him she only ever felt joy when they were together. Though the Phoenix was unable to truly resurrect Rachel, there's something beautiful in watching its flames give life back to Locke instead, and hearing his theme as he rejoins for good made us feel like we could take on a god and win. No one fits the description of Wild Child better than Gao, who could well be the love child of Disney's Tarzan and Princess Mononoke. Not quite a true blue mage, he learns monstrous abilities and copies them in an uncontrollable frenzy in battle, allowing him to deal not only scratch damage, but go as far as calling on legendary magic spells only a few are able to cast. We learn of Gao from the citizens of Moblis, and quickly encounter him on the field as a random encounter, where he must be enticed into the party with dried meat. My favourite. When it comes to the story, his presence is negligible, but in the world of Ruin, we're able to learn how he became so bestial. As it turns out, Gao's father abandoned him, haunted by seeing his wife die in childbirth, and refuses to see his son as even human. The gang goes to great lengths to reenact Pretty Woman in an attempt to reconcile the two, but it's all for naught, as the man simply refuses to realise the truth. We're inclined to mirror Sabin's fury at this rejection, but Gao is happy to know that his father is alive after all this time, which is the monster and which is the man indeed. While his story isn't front and centre, it nevertheless fits perfectly with the rest of FF6's theme of unconditional acceptance. Whether you're a bit too bossy, can't quite keep up with the times, or simply say yow too much, we're all worthy of love. Someone once said all the world's a stage, and for about half an hour it really is, with the fate of the world dependent on a small opera house really south of Jidor. With Terra out of commission, the party needs to travel to the heart of the Empire to help, but it'll be slow going without the world's only airship. Of course, there's only one around. Why wouldn't there be? Owned by the wandering gambler Setzer, we can't just ask to borrow it. That'd be way too easy. No, we need to appeal to his sense of grandeur, and save an innocent lady from his antics in the process by letting none other than General Celes be kidnapped and convince him that he wants to help. Not crazy enough for you? Best boy Ultros makes his grand reappearance and tries to throw a spanner in the works, leading to what can only be the most incredible performance these theatre goers will ever see. The entire sequence is excellently performed with a plot we'd love to see more of, and set to some of the best music in the game to boot. Celes herself even steps out to deliver a show-stopping aria despite her earlier complaints. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. So that was just some of the greatest moments of FF6. It was hard to pick just 7, as the entire game is full of brilliant scenes. Let us know in the comments below what your favourite part of the game was and why. If you'd like to hear more Final Fantasy discussion, we also have a podcast linked in the description. Thanks for watching and see you next time.